A very exciting afternoon to you out there. Thanks for joining us on the program today, Hitches and Voices. Just in case you're joining for the first time, Hitches and Voices is that program that focuses attention on issues bordering around persons with disability. Hitches and Voices is coming to you courtesy of Network for the Advancement of People with Visible Disabilities, NAVID. NAVID is a non-governmental organization here in Nigeria that is advancing the rights of persons with disability. My name is Kingsley Okoje, and my sign language interpreter for today is the very beautiful Cynthia Aya, doing justice to our deaf community. Our guest on the program today is a very wonderful guest. It's one with a disability himself, but he is a comrade Dr. Bartholomew Okodo. He is the current president of the Congress of Non-Governmental Organization here in Benin City, Congos. Mr. or Dr. Comrade Bartholomew, welcome to Hitches and Voices.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
All right, our focus today will be on the Edo State Disability Law, looking at the importance of legislation in disability rights. I will be using that to juxtapose the Edo story. That's our focus today on the program. And once more, thanks for joining us. Don't forget that this segment of the program, which is focusing on the Edo State Disability Law, is coming to you courtesy of Joint National Association of Persons with Disability, JONAPID, with support from the Ford Foundation. I'd like to ask my guests for today a very first question. I know I've asked a couple of my guests this question before, but I will repeat the same question. From your own, perspective, can you take us through a very short or a brief background of the Edo State Disability Law, the journey so far?
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for having me. The Edo State Disability Act has come a long way. The advocacy actually started sometime around 2020 when it was passed, 2018, it was passed at the national level and signed into an act by the former president. Now the need for such similar acts to be enacted in various states became very, very imperative, and the struggle in Edo started. A lot of advocacies were done with stakeholders, including ministries, parastatals, civil society organization, religious group, traditional group, and many more, including market women, artisans. Everybody came together to collectively draft that bill that was presented to the governor, and the governor thereafter presented it as an executive bill to the Edo State House of Assembly. And then there was advocacy again intensified to ensure that the bill as it then was passed. I want to thank all those again who came together, the society group, St. Vincent de Paul from the Catholic Church, and many others. Market women, they all came together to advocate that the bill should be passed. Eventually, the last session of the House of Assembly passed the bill. Having passed the bill, it was now, a bill is just a piece of paper. It is accepted to by Mr. Governor. So another round of advocacy started again. And eventually in 2022, the former governor of Edo State, His Excellency, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, accepted to it. And it became an act of Edo State government. Then, to implement became an issue. But then every stakeholder recognized that Edo State now have an act for persons with disability. So to implement became another issue. Another round of advocacy again started with all stakeholders coming together to advocate that a disability that will pursue whatever is the provision of those acts were set up. Before we could achieve it, that government passed and a new government came on board. And we welcome that new government, the new government, with another serious advocacy. And eventually, the governor, we want to thank him. He immediately listened to the voice of the people and constituted the Disability Commission. And today, Disability Commission is on board. That is the journey so far.
All right, beautiful. I would like to ask, what would have necessitated persons with disability to agitate, or what brought about that agitation for a piece of law to protect the rights of persons with disability? What were the challenges? What were the gaps?
Now, the challenges were enormous because persons with disability were treated as people who deserve some sort of privilege, not as persons who are entitled to their rights. For instance, if the state government is employing people, the governor will make pronouncement and ensure that 5 persons with disability are employed. Slots were given. But today, the Disability Act has been signed. It gives equal rights to everybody, equal rights. As far as you are qualified, you are entitled to that job. So that equal right, the enabling environment, the legal frame enabling environment was now established for persons with disability to be able to strive. So as of today, persons with disability are no longer treated as a matter of privilege. Whatever is due them now is seen as a matter of right, not as privilege. So if you are qualified for a job, you bid for it and you are given. It's no longer given to you because you are a person with disability, but because you qualify for it, like every other person, it's not given to you. That law, so there was also need for social inclusion. The law that make provision, make it everybody to be at equal par. Everybody cannot interact at the same level, at the same speed. Provision of infrastructure recently, especially from the government and even from the now private sector, now have access, ramps are created for persons with disability. If you go to some government ministries and parastatals, what are their parking slots? A specific number is reserved for persons with disability. If you go to some hospitals, you now have persons with disability, friendly toilet for persons with disability. So these things are now done as a matter of right, no longer as a matter of privilege. So if government begins to build new infrastructure today, those provisions are not there. Somebody can go to court.
All right, before the governor assented, the former governor assented to the bill, and this current governor has definitely set up the commission. I would like you to use your own personal experience. What were the challenges you were faced with as someone with a disability? And how is the law currently signed now that has brought up this commission? How is it helping you now as an individual?
We were facing majorly 2 challenges.
I'm not saying we now. You
as a person, yes. When I say we,
yes.
I as a person, let me put myself as one to represent every other persons with a disability. One of the major challenges I had was discrimination. We highly discriminated against that. You, because of your challenge, you are not fit for some person, so for some certain assignment. Because of your challenge.
How do you mean?
For instance, they want to employ teachers. They will tell you cannot teach effectively.
As one with a disability.
As one with a disability.
Even when you are qualified.
Even when you are qualified.
Have you had such experience where you were turned down on the basis of your disability?
As a person, I've never, since I graduated, I've never applied to do government work. So I will not have that personal challenge. But I've seen people who were indiscriminately disqualified because they are persons with disability. Even in schools.
Even when they were qualified.
Even when they were qualified. You know the story of the girl in the State School of Nursing that was disqualified because she's a person with disability. A serious advocacy had to come in before the young lady was eventually reinstated in the State School of Nursing. There are issues of persons with disability. Recently, not in Edo State, in Kebbi State, one Bamaye Lucas, a 400 level of the University of Benin Kebbi, who is presently doing his clinical services, was asked to drop from the medical school and go back to microbiology. Because according to them, the Medical and Data Council of Nigeria will not grant him license. That's highly, he was, to that extent, he was highly discriminated, and the guy felt stigmatized. But we have to intervene to the national president of JONAPID. Today, that thing has been, that decision of the school has been revised. This came to be as a result of the National Disability Act and National Disability Commission that intervened in that state. In Kebbi State, they have a disability commission. They now have to intervene, and the guy was allowed to continue his course of study in the medical school. These are experiences that are not palatable. But because of the Disability Act and the commission now, such things have been eliminated. It will no longer happen. Today, we are enjoying a program because programs specifically reserved for persons with disability. In those days, it was not like that. Today, you are a presenter. You are a presenter. You are doing very well.
Big shout out to ITV for
Yes,
that.
we
Management
want
of
to appreciate
ITV.
management of ITV. You are doing very well. They didn't neglect you. They didn't discriminate against you. But they know that even if they do, the law is there to protect you. And you are doing very well. Before that, they won't even give you the opportunity to showcase your God-given talent, to showcase that which you learned in school. But all those have now changed. So people with issues affecting persons with disability today are now treated as a matter of right, no longer as a privilege. We don't want to enjoy privilege. We want to enjoy as a right, as a matter of right. That is this where we are today.
All right, if you look at the Edo State Disability Law, what provision of that law excites you the most? I know there are so many provisions of the law in area of health, education. What provision of that law that when you look at it excites you the most?
The one that excites me the most is the one that grants equal opportunity for everybody, whether you are persons with disability or you are able person that is able, equal opportunity in as much as you are qualified. We are no longer very an aspect of the law that we need to, maybe as time goes on, we call for amendment, is that idea of that a certain slot should be given to persons with disability. A lot of persons are advocating for that. As a person, I am not too keen in advocating for that. I like that equal opportunity. If you are qualified, the opportunity should be given to you.
I thought you'd be more excited about the part of the law that talks about building code, making buildings. As someone who
yes, I've ever mentioned that. That today, if you go to the state secretariat, you speak today now, because there are ramps in virtually all the buildings. There are lifts in virtually all the buildings.
Is the Edo State House of Assembly accessible?
A lot of, I'm talking
is
about.
The
we are coming
Edo
to that.
State High Court accessible?
We are coming.
The governor's office.
We are talking about the new buildings now. By the time those buildings, the Edo State House of Assembly, the governor office, office of the chief of SSG, the State High Court, they were built before this agitation started. That's when those buildings were constructed.
But I think the executive should take the lead in
yes,
terms of adjusting.
If at any point in time there is need to change Edo State High Court, and of course the state judiciary is not completely. If you go to the new complex where you have court 12, 13, and 14, that new complex has a reserved space for parking for persons with disability, parking slot for persons with disability. Nobody parks there except persons with disability. And that complex also has a lift that takes people to the 3rd floor. So that new complex is disability friendly, disability compliance, except the old building. And if there is any cause for them to renovate that old building, and there is no deliberate attempt to make it disability friendly, some of us will go to court to challenge that decision. So the same applies to the governor's office. The governor's office, the SSG office, the House of Assembly, these were built long before the awareness or advocacy for equal right, equal opportunity for persons with disability started. But should there be need?
No, you are saying should there be need? There is a need. There's a law.
When I use the word,
there's a law now.
No.
So I would expect that the executive arm of government should start implement. There's a moratorium period for government, private institution to adjust their building to accommodate persons with disability as provided by the law.
Yes.
There's a moratorium period. So I would expect that the executive arm of government, starting from the governor's office, the office of the state
assembly.
No, the SSG now, secretary to the government of Edo State, that office should be accessible for persons on wheelchair or crutches. The Edo State House of Assembly should be accessible, because I've been to this building severally and they are completely
not accessible,
unaccessible for persons.
Now the moratorium period now is just 2 years gone. We still have
it's a 5 years moratorium period.
We still have 3 years. Now between now and that 3 years, a serious advocacy will also be done that will advocate that those buildings should be restructured to accommodate persons with disability. All hope is not lost, and of course, we cannot just achieve them in one day. It's a fight in progress, it's work in progress, it's struggle in progress, advocacy in progress. But I know within a very short time we will get there.
Within a short time we'll get there, but we'll go on a short break now. I will come back. We'll continue our conversation on the importance of legislation in disability rights in relation to the Edo State disability law. Stick with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back from that break. The conversation is still ongoing. My guest is Dr. Comrade Bartholomew Okodu. He is the current president of the Congress of Non-Governmental Organizations here in Edo State, Congos. And we've been having a very interesting conversation on the importance of legislation in disability rights, looking at the Edo disability law. And he's been sharing his thoughts concerning the law. But I'll ask him another question now. You know, a lot of persons have argued that, yes, it started at the national level. The National Disability Act was enacted, signed into law, it was signed, assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari. Some people say some of the states, taking a cue from the federal, that some of their laws are basically welfarist in nature. They don't address the core issue of rights. It's just more or less like a bill that's just meant to give handouts to persons with disability. What's your take on that?
Well, at least we should be grateful to those who advocated for that bill to become an act, and then eventually begin to implementation have started. You cannot cry out, and then government will listen to you. You cannot cry out, relevant authority will look into it, will listen to you as a matter of right, not as a matter of privilege. So the act on its own is still work in progress. It's not a perfect act. There's room for amendment. As we are progressing within the ministerial period in Edo State, I think the ministerial period for the national is almost ending now. Within the ministerial period of in Edo State, we will call for a kind of amendment, a review of that law, so that it will, some of these areas that are not properly taken care of will now be taken care of, will now be provided for. So there is still room, but no matter how it is, let us use what we have now. At least we have something better now than none.
Is there any aspect of the Edo State disability law that you feel you're not particularly comfortable with, that you would want the state government to look into, or the House of Assembly to look into?
Yes. One, though I said initially I'm not favorably disposed to this idea of quota as a person, but on a general perspective, I think the law should make provision for at least 40% slot to persons with disability in all employment made by
40%.
Yes, 40% slot for all persons with disability in all recruitment, job recruitment done by Edo State government and the organized private sector operating in Edo State. That there should be percentage slot. And then secondly, the commission, with all due respect to His Excellency, Executive Governor of Edo State, who have graciously considered that commission, there should be a special provision that will make the chairman of that commission to be a person with disability.
But the current chairman of the commission is one with a disability. But what you are saying is that
but it's not provided
it's
for.
not provided for in the law, that it must
be
someone
yes.
with a disability.
What I'm advocating for now, that it should be provided for, that it must be somebody with disability. Then the secretary, who is a civil servant, could be to be an able person to give backup to the.
You know, like they say in the disability community, nothing about us without us.
Yes.
He who wears the shoes.
Yes, the chairman, the law should provide that the chairman should be a person with disability. It should be on the law.
All right.
Stated there.
Let me take you on the issue of quota. You say you don't believe in quota. I know people have argued for representation, that representation matters. And because of the way our society is structured, it's like an animal kingdom where all animals are not equal. In some countries where they practice representative democracy, representation is key. So they provided for slots for persons with disability in parliament, knowing that it will be difficult for these persons to contest election with their able-bodied counterparts and win. You know, looking at this argument, would you not argue for slots, reserved seats for persons with disability in our parliament, both at the national and state level?
Not just at the national state, even at the local government level. I seriously advocate for special seats for persons with disability. That is not slot. That is the special seat. Like there's a bill before the National Assembly now that calls for special seat for women, at least one per senatorial district. That bill is on, and there's serious advocacy.
So if there's an agenda for women, there should be for persons
with disability to have at least a special slot for persons with disability, at least one per senatorial district and one per state constituency. It is at this point we have to give kudos to some political parties. I don't know whether all of them, but to some major political parties that gives a slot each to persons with disability in their ward, local government, state and national ESCO. They have a slot each for persons with disability. In other words,
reserve office for persons with disability.
persons with disability must be in their ESCO, beginning from the ward to national level. That is commended. So in any ward where there is no persons with disability, they go about looking for, because it's a constitutional provision that must be complied with. They go about looking for persons with disability. I've had political party calling me to say, we didn't see in our ward. I'll say, go and look for. Whether the person is any person, go and put the person there. Don't go and look for. Because it's a provision of the constitution that must be met. So when we have special seat for persons with disability, it becomes better. One per senatorial district. So therefore means, if one per senatorial district, therefore means in every senatorial district, at any given point in time, there must be a person with disability who is a senator representing that district. At the House of Assembly today, we have 24 seats. It therefore means if there are 24 seats and we are advocating, if not too much, that there should be one person with disability from this constituency to be there, it will make it 24 also, which we are not asking for too much.
So you are an advocate for reserve seats?
Yes, reserve seats for persons with disability in Parliament.
And I'm sure you're also looking forward to an ESCO that will have persons with disability as a commissioner.
Yes. Edo State is always a trailblazer. We've had a speaker in Edo State that was persons with disability.
I don't know of that. Can you?
We've had one. Let me recall his name. He's from my local government.
What was his nature of disability?
Physical.
Oh.
Justin Okunobu.
Oh, okay.
Justin Okunobu. Yes, he was a person. He is a person with disability. At the time, he was Speaker Edo State House of Assembly. That is the only one I can figure out for now. But then we also appeal to His Excellency that now that he's making appointment, as making series of appointment, the state ministries, commissioners have not been completely appointed. They should give a priority to persons with disability to come in as
all right. I know there are people, persons with disability from other states who are watching, states who have not implemented or passed a law or assented to any law that protects the rights of persons with disability. What's your message to persons with disability in this state? And how, using the Edo story, how would you advise them to keep on the struggle to ensure that one day they can celebrate what Edo State is celebrating today?
I want to urge them and I want to appeal to them to still engage in more advocacy. Advocacy is what we did in Edo State. Advocacy is you intensify advocacy, not just by themselves alone.
All right.
They should include various stakeholders
in that advocacy.
In that advocacy.
It's a wrap on the program today. My guest has been Dr. Comrade Bartholomew Okodu. He's been sharing his experience with us concerning, or his thoughts with us as far as the Edo State law is concerned. Don't forget, this segment of the program came to you courtesy of Joint National Association of Persons with Disability, JONAPID, with support from the Ford Foundation. Hitches and Voices came to you courtesy of Network for the Advancement of People with Visible Disability, NAVID. My name is Kingsley Okoje. Very big thank you to you for joining. We'll do this same time, same station. Till then, spot the hitch and be a voice.